Good afternoon and welcome to the final installment of the Cita Tech Trend series in 2022. My name is Alan Hoare. I am based in the School of Surveying and Construction Innovation in TU Dublin. And this morning we're going to be talking about managing productivity on construction sites. Just before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors this year, Arup Diatech, Celebri, who are part of the Symmetry Group, Linesight, 5D Dimension, and of course the continued support of Cita SkillNet. So thank you for your support. So I suppose just to remind people, Cita is a not-for-profit organization which is running a series of high-quality events, annual conferences, and so forth. And as part of our 2022, well, actually part of the 2021-25 strategic plan for Cita, the focus is really challenge, change, learn. And for example, this year we had a digital housing series. We're delighted to be involved in the Build Digital project. We've had this tech series, and of course we've had Cita Tech Live in June. And that, so this afternoon, it's about, as I say, managing productivity. We've got a number of great speakers. So, we've got Jason Reimer from Gaggen Muller, Ahmed Hassan, TU Dublin, Natalia Pinskoska from Evercam. And I suppose the topic of managing productivity in construction is an interesting one. Is the future of construction, or is the future of a construction site about unmanned autonomous plant working seamlessly with robots and other tech devices like sensors and drones and cameras, augmented and virtual mixed reality? Or is it more pragmatic than that? But today we're going to hear from what I would describe as a winning formula. This is a team who collectively represent a successful consortium that were funded by the Irish government under the Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund 2020 to the tune of €2 million. So somewhere along that journey, these companies and TU Dublin were able to persuade the government to fund what is a challenging, disruptive program that hopefully you will hear a lot more about in 2023. So our program, Hassan will start. Ahmed from TU Dublin. Ahmed is a former student in our school, and he's our principal researcher. Ahmed, you're very welcome. You're just on mute there. If you'd like to share your presentation, and we learn all about what we're doing in TU Dublin. Thank you.
Straight away. Can you see that now?
Yes, and if anyone has any questions, just pop them into the chat and I'll keep an eye on it. And I look forward to hearing from all the speakers. Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon. It's Ahmed Hassan, a postdoctoral researcher in the School of Surveying and Construction Innovation, TU Dublin, and a former student, as Alan said, PhD student in the same school. Even though my PhD studies was mainly focusing on strategic planning, but interviewing senior directors in construction firms in Ireland has revealed that technological tools and innovation is a killing mechanism to surpass competitors and sustain performance within this highly competitive environment. And that's why it was a main interest to be advancing my career and seeking towards studying and researching within the field of construction innovation. And today I'm going to show you how emerging technologies can be used to boost on-site productivity in construction. So let me first define productivity. In simple terms, it is the ratio between the quantity of the work done, the outputs, divided by the resources invested in the building process, which are the inputs. So in the case of calculating labor productivity, for example, the factor will be considered as inputs will be the number of working hours. Productivity is a vital determinant for the success of the construction industry and overall economy in achieving its goals. Poor productivity leads to cost overruns, project delays, and excessive waste. And all these largely affect the profitability of construction firms and hamper the government plans to achieve its economic, social, and environmental targets. The problem we are facing in Ireland is that low construction productivity is a massive barrier to the success of construction firms and the national efforts to address the housing crisis, build schools, hospitals, and other infrastructure important projects. For example, it was found that there has been a very little growth in labor productivity between 2000 and 2016. The rate is as low as being 26% below the Euro average, and the lag between productivity in construction and other sectors, which may not be even in the best shape.
Sorry, Ahmed, we're not seeing any content on the screen. There we go. Now we can see it. Sorry about that. No problem.
So back to this point again, which was the report released by the Irish government, which has estimated the lag between productivity in construction and other economic sectors in Ireland to be close to 3 billion euros. The other major problem we are facing in Ireland is that the mechanism applied to measure construction productivity is not sophisticated enough to reflect what's going on site. And here's the thing, it is very difficult to improve productivity if we can't accurately measure it. In Ireland, we only measure labor productivity by dividing the industry's gross added value over the number of labor working hours. Problems with this method is that it doesn't count for other production factors such as machinery, materials, and the management process itself. Also, it considers the number of expected working hours rather than the actual ones being performed on site. So, for example, a recent presentation by Enterprise Ireland representative in the last Cita Tech event has revealed that on a study they performed, they found out that the actual working hours was only 25% out of the expected from labor. So the solution, or let's start with the problem that we have, the problems that have been presented, raises the importance of using digital solutions in order to exploit the excessive unutilized data emerging from construction sites in order to measure and improve construction productivity. AI has been developed to address these challenges facing construction firms. So the disruptive technology aims to create a visualization platform that captures real-time visual and numerical data using advanced cameras and sensors to deliver critical information in an accessible form and support team-wide collaboration. AI seeks to improve productivity by monitoring and tracking factors of production to automate the construction workflow, and also to provide the opportunity of reliably measuring the productivity of individual factors of production and the overall construction process. So the applications of AI cover the following areas, which are the construction planning by automating the scheduling of activities, advancing the BIM management process by supporting visual collaboration between the design and execution teams, matching the billing process with on-site progress by tracking equipment uptime and materials deliveries using passive real-time data, safety monitoring using real-time alerts, in addition to productivity and performance benchmarking. The collaborative project involves 2 industry partners and a research performing organization. Evercam is contributing to AI with its wide and large expertise in developing construction cameras driven by artificial intelligence. Gagamula is participating with its advanced planning software and data analytics, in addition to its sensors technology. And finally, our research team in the School of Surveying and Construction Innovation is responsible for managing the industrial research process taking place during the piloting of AI on a live construction project. Also, we are responsible for the continuous development of the technology's state-of-the-art with the support of the project's advisory board. it is worth noting that the project has an advisory board consisting of 7 senior construction academics and practitioners based all across the world. So we have members in the USA, Germany, Malaysia, Sweden, UK, and Poland. For example, we have Sean Halpin from the USA. He's the operations director of the giant company JT Magan, and Professor Thomas Bock, who is a leading academic figure in the field of construction, automation, and also the chair of building realization and robotics at the Technical University of Munich. Our project started in November last year, and it is planned for the first stage to last for 3 years. Its budget is 3.8 million, and Enterprise Ireland is contributing to this project with 2.1 million through the Disruptive Technologies Innovation Fund. As you can see, it consists of 6 work packages split across the 3 project partners. So Evercam is responsible for the project management, system integration. On the other side, Gagamulla will be holding responsibility over the construction site setup. And TU Dublin is mainly responsible for the monitoring and evaluation of the technology, in addition to the communication, dissemination, and commercialization. And the AI pilot phase on a live construction project in Ireland will start in a couple of months. And upcoming project news and results will be regularly posted on our social media channels. So I would like to invite you to follow up with our team through LinkedIn and Twitter. And now I will leave you with our representative, our partners, Jason from Gagamulla and Natalia from Evercam, to detail the functions and applications of AI. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahmed. Just before we go to Jason, could I ask you one question?
Sure.
Do you believe that by investing in technology, that you can address this difficult task of monitoring and, most importantly, improving construction productivity on site?
To be honest, Anna, it's not just a belief. It is something that has been proven through my PhD studies funded by Technological University Dublin, meeting senior directors, meeting even construction professionals on site. They have largely criticized the lack of investment in technological development within these firms. And leading companies, they have started focusing on this area because they have seen that it is vital for them to advance in order to be able to compete effectively in Ireland and also seek international markets in case of any economic downturn happen in Ireland.
Very good. I mean, this is potentially going to be a great story to tell about 2 tech companies coming together and testing and disrupting the market. I mean, for me, before we go on to Jason, it has to be about real-time information that can connect to the back office and to the field, so that construction managers can actually more proactively, address immediate issues. It must also be about transparency, giving the clients and the other stakeholders visibility of the project. So, thank you, Ahmed.
Just one note before we move to Jason, another important factor relating to what you just mentioned now, transparency. A leading edge for AI in comparison to other technologies we have seen emerging over the last few years is the fact that data is captured in a passive way, meaning that there's no human intervention in capturing data that can actually lead to capture whatever we want and hide whatever we don't want to hide. And the overall aim of the technology is reaching a stage where there's complete visibility, complete reliable visibility between all involved partners in a project. And if that's the case, then there was going to be no point of playing around the process. We will just be all collaborating together in order
And
to achieve our aim.
I remember early this year, a colleague and I went out to see, let's just call it a tier one contractor in Ireland. And the first thing, well, this conversation was around data analytics and data. They need information and data coming from the site so they can respond, more accurately. And this idea of remote connection is so important, obviously post-COVID, but fascinating. Jason, thank you for your patience, and we're looking forward. Thank you, Ahmed. Looking forward to continue working with you on this exciting project. So we're going to go over now to Jason, who's going to bring us through. It is Jason, the second speaker, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alan. Thanks a lot, Ahmed, for the introduction. Let me just share my screen. Okay.
All is good. All is good, yes. Jason. Yeah.
Okay. My name's Jason Reimer. I work for Muller Group, and we're one partner of the AI Consortium. So my background is civil engineering, over 20 years experience in the construction industry, delivering large-scale construction projects across Australia and Ireland. I've been living in Ireland now nearly 20 years as well. And so exposure to a lot of diverse construction types. Predominantly over the last 7 or 8 years, my focus has all been on digital construction methodologies, software, tools, information management, and in recent time it's been heavily focused around data analytics. So my journey's come from site, where I've got site engineering, delivering projects, and now it's kind of just evolved to become more around information management and how we can use data and technology to improve productivity on the sites. And a lot of what was discussed earlier there with transparency and being able to automate the capture of data is becoming more prevalent. And we're getting better tools to be able to do that now. 10 years ago, it was an aspiration. There were some tools to do it, but it was a challenge. It was difficult. And I've got hands-on experience delivering different project management methodologies across the years. So it's good to see it kind of coming to a head now, where that's becoming a big discussion. For instance, with BIM 10 years ago, it was all about 3D modeling and BIM. That's kind of evolved, and there's less discussion about BIM. It's more about information and data. So there's been, I think, the industry has matured, and we're getting to a good place now where we can start to leverage that. And with the AI Consortium, we now have got a group of companies and organizations that we can really push the envelope of what is possible. I won't go into too much detail there on AI. Agman covered it fairly well. But essentially, we want to enhance the productivity using technology and improving reporting and insights that you can get to. The aim is to have real-time live reporting with true transparency and accurate, good quality data. That is a challenge in the industry. So when we look at typical reporting structures, and when I say reporting, it's about communication, how information is communicated from the boots on the ground, out in the field, into the back office, into the stakeholders. So senior management and teams can collaborate effectively, make good, timely decisions to be able to mitigate risks, resolve issues, because things just happen and change on sites, and that's the nature of the construction industry. But with reporting, typical issues we have is inaccurate information. So it's captured in a manual way. It's manipulated as it feeds up the hierarchy. Out of date information. This is something that comes up time and time again. So we'd be producing, your subcontractor would produce a report for the main contractor. That main contractor uses that in its monthly reports. And then when it reports up to the client and senior stakeholders, sometimes data is like 6 weeks out of date, because by the time it's gone up the food chain of the hierarchy of the project reporting. So it makes it very difficult to make timely decisions to make good impact on sites to adverse risk. Like I said, it's administratively heavy. More often than not, everyone is sharing PDFs or static documents that are cut and paste and shared up the line, because they don't want to share data, because there's a tendency to withhold data in case it's used against you for commercial leverage or other negotiation. So, and that where the last element is the lack of transparency. That's probably key. And in some contractual environments, the lack of transparency is a tool that they use to be able to get commercial leverage or negotiation leverage, which then can erode the collaboration and trust and things like that. So more often than not, when we're going into sites, people are too busy, focused on doing the work, and never stop and sit back and say, how can we improve these processes? And very much so, it's about people and then the technology used to support that. So I want to go through the next slide is looking at how we can look at the reporting cycle to flesh out, and it is a cycle, because once you get through and you actually get good reports at the end, you can get better insights, improve some of the processes, and it comes back and it improves your reporting. So it's a continual improvement cycle. Very often, senior stakeholders just go, oh, we want this report, and they want this fancy dashboard, but actually there's a whole heap of a process in place that you need to put in place to ensure that you can get that at the end result. So initially, defining the project goals and objectives. What does winning look like? What does success on the project look like? More often than not, it's not really clearly defined. It's just like, oh, we need to hit this time frame, we need to hit this budget. But there's also a lot of other success factors. Defining the reporting requirements. What are we going to report? What information do we need to see? And it will change as it moves up the hierarchy of the project management team, that they'll need to see higher level metrics, but it's to make that relevant to who needs to see what and when, so that they can make actions to mitigate risks. Information management plan. So this is something that's core to everything we do at Gaggamula. Every time we enter into a new contract, new project, new client, it really starts, this sets our foundation, setting out what is our information management plan. This is not about BIM or anything like that. It's about setting out how you're going to standardize information sharing across a project. This, like such things as naming conventions, it's kind of boring, kind of mundane things, but it really does set a foundation of being able to share information easily between project partners, stakeholders, different design teams, different disciplines, and trade partners. So it's really important to get this right, have a good understanding of what information needs to be captured, how it's standardized so everyone uses the same terminology, same language. When we're talking about areas and zoning and things like that, everything is standardized, and it's really important to lay it out here. And on top of that is the communication plan, how we're going to communicate this information. Develop your management processes, like laying out how are you going to manage this project? What workshops do we need? What meeting do we need? What reporting structures do we need? So define these processes. This is all around people. So we haven't even got into the technology part. This is defining the people and the processes part. So really get that nailed down first before we start looking at defining the technology stack. This technology stack then should be driven to support the processes and the people on the project, not the other way around. Very often I see that technology is brought in because it's the latest fancy shiny toy, but they haven't looked at, have you got a good sound process? Have you got good information management procedures in place before you implement the new technology. Very often you see that technology fail and they blame the technology. But and it's because they haven't put the right processes in place to utilize that technology. They're trying to get the technology to do the work for them and define their information management procedures or the governance, but they need to have that in place before they apply the technology. Technology can definitely make it easier to maintain those standards and implement those standards, but you still need to have those standards in place before you start utilizing it. Communication and training and implementation. So this is the big piece. Now you've got defined your standards, you've got your technology to support that, and you provide communication, training, and implementation on the project so that people know what they're meant to be doing, how to share information, and things like that. Automating the data capture and the data pipeline. So as much as possible, like Admin said, we need to automate that process. And a lot of the aim of the AI consortium here is to be able to leverage camera technology as a passive tool to capture data and information from the site that can feed into our reporting and becomes something that we're not reliant on someone to be entering numbers. We're still going to have that people aspect, but it's going to support that narrative. So we're building on having more accurate data. And then finally, you get your reporting process. So you go through all those steps, and very often people just want to go straight into the report, not really thinking about how it's delivered or developed, what's the data, what's the flow, and how do you maintain it? Because very often you'd be producing your reports, and as soon as the report's done, you're back starting to produce the next one because it takes so long to capture the information, and hence it builds in inherent delay in the information. So a lot of what I've just previously discussed, this is what is center to it. And it's finding that balance between your processes, your people, and your technology. You don't too heavily rely on one or the other. You need to have well-defined processes and information standards and have skilled people. That question you posed to admin earlier, where you spoke about technology, a big piece of that is actually the people, is the skill base in the industry, and that's critical. If you don't have the skill base,
I might just jump in there for 10 seconds and say how nice it is to see that image on the screen. And the reason being is that I've been involved with Build Digital for the last year, grappling with this issue of data and information management. And in the center of the digital procurement pillar, we have that. So it's nice to see that, with all the work we've done, that, the people process technology, that's how we're going to measure the maturity of the Irish construction SME cohort. So sorry for interrupting you, but really enjoying this presentation. Well done.
Yeah, so it's very much about people. And I suppose my journey in the last 10 years has seen that evolve and been involved actually on the ground, delivering projects, trying to implement BIM standards, ISO 19650 information standards, working with multiple design teams, and actually looking at dozens and dozens of different technology solutions, how to implement that. I've kind of learned that it's not always the technology solution that you need to, people rely on a bit of a crutch. You need to get the other two in place, working correctly, and have the people to be able to implement it. Then with good technology, you can then really see the success come in. And you really need to try and strike that balance that you're not leveraging too heavily on one side or the other. So this comes to this data pipeline. So I've kind of developed this chart to try and tell the story of how we can leverage different software solutions, because on any project, you're going to have at least a dozen, if not more, software programs that different departments are going to use to execute the project. and it's trying to capture those. Some will catch it in automated ways using API software. Some has to be captured manually. It really depends on the software that you're dealing with. The point here is not exactly on what that software stack is. It's being able to deal with multiple software solutions that require different responses to be able to combine them and join them together. And if you don't have kind of shared information management procedures that you use in each of the separate softwares, it's going to make it very difficult to model and build the relationships between one data set and another. So on this one, and this is typical on a couple of projects that we've delivered, we use SharePoint. It's a Microsoft Office tool. It's typically available to nearly all organizations, so it's accessible as a collaboration platform. And from there, we can leverage connection to other platforms where we've got Wayloader, and Plan is a module that Gagamuller Technology, another arm of Gagamuller, is developing a tool to capture the work on the ground. They use the last planner process, and this is about capturing the activities on the ground. P6, Oracle P6, or it could be Asta Power Project as a typical scheduling software, being able to connect into that. Aconex, your CDE platform, Field, we could be BIM 360, or you might have various logistics app, trying to pull that all together into a data warehouse. That could be simple as lots of Excel sheets that pull together into a Power BI, or you might have a SQL Server, or might have a combination of both. But when you then start using Power BI to pull that together, again, that's just one platform. It could be Tableau, but I have a preference to Power BI in the way it gives you flexibility. There's got lots of defined data connections to lots of other software, so you can be pulling information directly from APIs that are going into BIM 360, Oracle SQL servers and things like that, and start modeling and pulling your data together. Here, this is where it's critical to have your information standards laid out, because if you're going to have to try and correct poor information standards, you can get really bogged down and stuck. And then we've got the tiered reporting systems, so that we've got from the contractors, boots on the ground, into senior management and executive board, so that you can sort of customize your reports to suit. On this slide here, I'm just going into a typical example of how we extract or lay out a construction schedule to enable us to extract the data and then link it and create relationships between our commercial teams, our schedule of packages, work packages, and our schedule of areas, so it's aligning to a BIM model or where the locations around. It's really important that we have our information management procedures at the front end, that we can then standardize our construction program. We have additional custom columns in that program to enable to attach metadata to those tasks. So when you then pull that out in your model, we can then make relationships between the commercial team, the scheduling team, and areas out in the field to deliver sort of dynamic dashboards. So we're really going from a Gantt chart style view, which can be difficult to read. It can typically has tens of thousands, like over 10,000 line items, and trying to manage tasks at that level is very difficult, to a dashboard that we can really group and categorize the data so you can get really good, powerful insights very quickly. Just a little piece on Wayloader and Plan. Plan is a module within Wayloader, and it's set up to be a mobile app that and it's based around the lean last planner process. So it can capture that last planner you set out. You've got your main schedule that sets out the high-level macro programming. This is down to the micro programming. Where are your men meant to be? Planning out all the work activities. And this does it in a digital way so that we can get a clean pipeline of what work is being actually done. trying to highlight blockers or constraints out in the field that need to be dealt with to maintain a flow of work out in the field. That's key to this part here, is maintaining construction flow. And when we see productivity drastically drop, it's all down to having poor flow, or where something breaks, or there's an issue that comes out and people don't remove that constraint until it's right in front of them. Then there's a delay, and several trades are delayed while they try and deal with something. But the last plan of process is looking out in front, trying to remove those constraints. And if there's a constraint, it can be reported up the line so senior management and stakeholders can make decisions to unblock that and maintain that flow of trades across the site. Finally, I was going to switch to a dashboard that we said. This is a sample project that we've set up. I'm just going to stop sharing for a second and just share the dashboard. So now this is a project dashboard that we've set up, and in here we've made the connections between a schedule that has a few thousand lines of tasks and trying to make that relationship against our commercial packages. So we can see productivity, how much construction progress we've made, what's our contract value we've made, coordination process, design process, so we can kind of track productivity. I'll just switch across to the scheduling. This one here is where we've pulled in a Gantt, a schedule from P6, exported it, and modeled the data. So now we can very quickly see here how we're progressing through construction. This is a high-rise residential building from the basement, and we can see our progress quite quickly. If we want to look at overdue tasks, we can focus in, okay, we're starting to get overdue tasks on level 1. We click on that level, straight away it filters. We can access what's happening. We've got issues with builders' work and where these overdue tasks are, so that in the hands of the project manager, they're not trying to filter through thousands of lines. Very quickly, red, overdue, and they're in. They can start solving problems with their site teams, asking the right questions, what the blockers are, what the constraints are. So very much so trying to get it so it's going into something that has tens of thousands of lines down to something that you can actually action. If we transfer across where we start looking at, we can start looking at different phases. Here, if we're looking at substructure, click on substructure, all our substructure tasks are finished. We can see a trend of how they worked against plan versus actual. We go into the superstructure, we can see where we're trending against our plan. So it's very much giving you something that you lay out your stores for your plan, and then measuring that live feed coming in that you're measuring against your plan. And rather than waiting 4-6 weeks to get progress reports, that makes it very difficult to then come back on track. If you're looking at this daily or weekly, you can then make small adjustments to keep the ship sailing steady. So that's everything I wanted to go through today. Thanks for your time, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you found it.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Jason. And sorry for the interruption earlier on, because it was just when I saw that central piece. And by the way, that slide where you had that, circle, could you send me that? Because I need that for a document I'm trying to top off at the moment. But that was really, really, really good. Really, really interesting. I suppose, look at when does information become data? When does data become big data? Sorry. But something that struck me, when you're looking at, say, information management, the problem in construction is, Ahmed talks a lot about the challenges in construction, but I think of the 3 or 4 V's, the variety of information we're getting. And of course, we're talking here about the need to be interoperable, open BIM, open standards. So the form of information is so varied in construction. Secondly, I don't know what your email box is like, or your Twitter, or your LinkedIn. It's the volume, the sheer volume and scale of information coming at you as a client, as a contractor, as a subcontractor. The veracity of the information, in other words, the inaccuracy or poor accuracy of the information is so varied. And of course, the velocity of it coming. So we've got to do, in the Build Digital project, for example, we're trying to look at putting together a framework. And I'm going to come on and talk about Build Digital a little bit at the end, because I think 2023 is about coming together as an industry and getting all these different sort of groups talking in a singular, on a singular platform. Anyway, thank you so much. There is a question, actually, if I may, I think it's from Dan. And it's really a practical one. What happens when the activity is no longer viewable by the camera, which is normally mounted? Now, I know we haven't talked about cameras yet, Natalia, but where you've got cameras that are fixed, what happens when you can't see the work? Is this where, say you're looking at mechanical, electrical, is this where sensors come in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose we're different technology, because your camera will see your facade go up and you're around the outside of the building. Once it closes in, there's different tools. There's 360 digital capture as well, that like tools like Open Space, Build Dots, other technologies that are leveraging that now. So where there's also drones. So it's not about just having one tool that just captures everything. It's about providing a suite of tools that do their part. So you'll have the cameras, you'll have drones, you'll have 360 wearable cameras that will capture the internal, and then you'll have the software like Wayloader, which is actually sending out, people are interacting on their phones, and that's one part of another product that Gagel and Mueller have developed about managing the supply chain, and where we're managing it for like setting up these custom applications for companies like Unilever, where they're managing supply chain in places like India, where there's not much technology and infrastructure, but you leveraging mobile phone in capturing people's location and tracking deliveries across various supply chains. So,
and of course, those of you who attended the previous tech trend would have heard a lot about from Leica and from Arup and so on, where they're using, kind of mobile, robotic, devices on site with integrated scanners and so on. So you can actually go into the building and you can constantly scan the building internally. You know what I mean? So thank you, Jason. And I think that was the same question that Shenna had. So we're going to come to our, Jason, great presentation. On now to Natalia. You've been very patient there, Natalia. And want to take this opportunity to wish you all your best in your continued studies as well. And so if you want to take us through your presentation as we close out. Yeah, thank you.
Exactly, thank you. So some of the issues that I'll be referring to have already been mentioned. You will see me repeating. I will try to speak from the point of view of Evercam. Evercam is a visual tool, visual communication tool that allows you to transmit picture from the construction sites. And in the project that we're talking here about, the AI project, we are responsible for this visual aspect of the sensors of the technology. Next slide, please. I'm always assuming that construction is complex and mistakes there are expensive, and you have seen it multiple times working on a site or observing it, how the costs can mount unexpectedly. And as Jason was saying, we don't always see what's happening in this multitude of data. Can I have the next slide, please? Sorry about this. There was some issue with me presenting, so I'll be having this funny interruptions. Mistakes are immensely expensive in wealth construction terms, these are billions of dollars that are lost on disputes, delays, and the need for rework because some mistakes were made. And basically, we cannot learn from mistakes that we cannot see, either in a form of reports, like it is in Gagamler's case, or in the form of a picture, as it is for Evercam. Can I have the next one, please? And we believe that capturing the reality in the form of picture would deliver visibility and transparency to entire project teams. So it's with the picture that the project managers can communicate with their subcontractors, with their health and safety managers on site, and they can communicate about all aspects that are visible out there. The next element, please. Another assumptions that we're making and that our customers are continuously confirming is that cameras make things easy. You just mount them out there, you connect them to power and internet, and you can safely forget about them. In this way, they are a passive sensor that just records everything. The next one, please. It follows the same logic, but you can see another beautiful picture from a construction site that we're on. Next one, and probably next one, because it was just, I would like to present a few tools that we work with. We would like to function as a visualization platform in a way that all kinds of visual data can be collected in one place, and you can preview it just like a movie or like your Netflix feed, where you can choose whether you want to see what's happening live, whether you want to see the recording, the next one, or maybe you would like to see this beautiful time lapse of the whole process on your side. The next one, please. So as I was saying, live recordings in time lapse, and on top of this, some smaller tools. Next one, please. And next one. I would like to move to the whole field of reality capture. So there are two technological elements that are out there, and obviously there are many solutions, both as Ahmed and Alan and Jason were mentioning. So for planning, we have all these technologies that allow you to create the building information modeling plans in advance, but then in the process of execution of the construction, there are also different kinds of sensors that are available. Cameras are one of them, but each construction site being different, you might need to choose to put sensors on the machinery, to put sensors on the perimeter, to use LiDAR to scan the built environment, etc. Next one, please. In Evercam, we try to connect some of these technologies, and also in the project, we would like to connect further. This is why we applied for funding, and this is what we are trying to do. So, for instance, we can compare what is built with what is planned in a BIM compare tool, and also measure things remotely with our measuring grid. The next one. In this way, we create a whole suite of progress monitoring. Well, you have both beautiful and clear reports confirmed with pictures and plans that are easily comparable. The next one, please. Another exciting area that we're working on is this multidimensional visualization, both of the plan in a kind of 4D view of the BIM model, and of the drone scan that can be collected at regular intervals and also compared against each other in the platform. Next one. In the project, we are also using analytics, AI, in the recognition of machinery that's out there. And this is also used in our commercial product. The next slide, please. In a tool called Gate Report, where we can recognize all entries and departures on the construction site and confirm or kind of review the data that we would have, for example, from a logistics app or from another planning tool or from the gatekeeper. We can confirm it with the pictures and with the data captured by AI. Next slide, please. The future of the Gate Report of this first of the tool that I just mentioned would be the automation of workflows and recognition whether the truck went the right way or whether nobody accessed this danger zone that would be around this excavator. Next slide. So in this way, through picture and multiple data sources and analytics, we are delivering transparency and enabling communication between various roles on the construction site. We believe that in this way, by communicating better and planning their tasks ahead, we will boost their productivity on the site. So there is a final slide, and thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, Natalia. Very interesting. And, I suppose as we go through, your company is constantly, presumably, developing new products, finding new solutions beyond just passive, photography or image capture. And of course, that's what we're trying to do in Build Digital as well. Do we have any questions from the audience for the speakers? I'm just wondering, either Jason or Natalia, how are we going to get the solutions that Jason has working with the solutions that Natalia has in measuring productivity? Can either of you address that question?
I suppose the simple answer to that one is data and having shared data. So that's the beauty of the consortium where we can work with other partners. And obviously, each of us have our different strengths and areas of expertise in the industry, and being able to leverage that in a shared way where we're sharing information. So the information that the camera is capturing and some of the analytics and AI that Evercam are putting together, being able to share that with the reports and information we're capturing on the ground. And because the cameras only capture part of it, it's never going to capture everything. And it's about using multiple sources in a shared collaborative way that you start to unlock potential.
Yeah. I think it was, sorry, Natalia, yeah. Thanks, Jason.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. And in a way, there's always uncertainty from the user whether the data that they receive it represents reality, whether the information, the report is complete. The more opportunities for them we deliver to confirm a written report with a picture or confirm the video with actual records from other sensors, the more opportunities we have like this, the more possibility there is for the end user to rely on the data and to use it correctly in their work. And that's what we're doing.
And of course, using the technology for, how would I put this, sort of diplomatically, but using the technology for positive project outcomes, because sometimes technologies can be used in a situation where you've got an adversarial environment. You know, there's a claim, between a client and a contractor, and you use the technology to prove or disprove something. So for me, it must be about keeping it simple: time, cost, quality, safety. Are these the four big things? So, like, from a time perspective, yes, we need to monitor that we're on time through the program. And if we're late, we need to know why. From a cost perspective, that's probably more sensitive. I don't know. And compliance, you know, building regulation compliance. It's a topic I know some of our colleagues have been talking about recently. Has the building been constructed to the required compliance necessary under building regulations? Can technology help there?
Yeah, the big part of is the transparency. The cameras offer is that transparency, and it gives a very accurate record of what's happened. If you can go through and look at a historic of a camera, it backs up the written reports really well, and having that transparency. But it does require trust, requires collaboration, and that can erode on large projects where there's different challenges, especially as cost and schedule shift, and for various different reasons, it can be challenging. And it's trying to keep the focus on the benefit of the entire project, rather than trying to use it for contractual sort of leverage, which is I think the fear typically in previous projects where you've got these great tools. People get very scared of someone can see everything, but it's trying to overcome those fears.
Okay, thanks, Jason. It's incumbent on me to bring the meeting to a close, because I did promise everyone we finish by 2:00. The good thing about these events is they are recorded, and they will be available through the Cita YouTube channel. And I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the backroom team. I can see Suzanne is still there, to Mela, all the great work they've done. It's been an interesting journey. This is our final event in 2022. It's been a really busy year. We had 6 events this year. We started on the 23rd of February, for the Tech Trend series. There's something actually about today that was so special, I thought, because the speakers were brilliant. That's the first thing. We had a reasonably good attendance. But there's something about remote events that I think we should look. I'm saying this publicly. We should maybe look to keep them, because we wouldn't have Natalia here today, other than the fact that she was able to dial in from Poland. So we would have missed out on that, Natalia. But also the fact that, could we in 2023 hear from AI again? So we want to talk to you in a year's time. How have you got on? What progress have you made? Other thing is, 23 is about being more interactive. Interactive, attendees more involved, or it's about we're going back in person next year. We're going to have a series of, maybe less, but a series of in-person events starting in February, which is going to focus on SMEs and digital acceleration. Well, I think we could keep this sort of online piece as well, because there is space for that as well. So my message to everyone is thank you first of all to our speakers as well, to Ahmed and Natalia and Jason, 3 super presentations, but also to any other people listening today, particularly if you represent another community, another network, be it the Build Digital Project, be it DASB, be it Construct Innovate, Build to Innovate, the National Construction Training Centre in Mount Lucas, the Lean Construction Institute, or Singular Vision for a Smarter Industry, goes together and provide a platform so that SMEs can learn about, how they can help SMEs. So that's the plan for next year, and I hope you support us and get in behind the Alliance. After all, it is a not-for-profit organisation. It's there for its members. So listen, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I want to wish you all the very best, and my season's greetings to all of you. Have a great Christmas. And we'd love if you could come back and support us in 2023.
Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time.
See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.